Latest business news now then for you on the programme. Charles Pellegrin is with us here on set. Charles, you're telling us, first of all, about the latest in this trade spat, of course, that's been going on for a week or so now between the US and China.
Absolutely. We'll actually go back on what happened last week a little bit. Tensions kept escalating throughout last week, starting with U.S. President Donald Trump proposing import duties on more than 1,300 Chinese products. Well, this was followed by Beijing announcing tariffs of up to 25% on a number of U.S. goods, many of which in the agricultural sector. Well, the week then ended with Trump suggesting an extra $100 billion in tariffs, but then Washington appeared to soften its tone over the weekend. Donald Trump took to Twitter on Sunday to express his confidence that an agreement will be found between the two countries. As you can see, he said, "President Xi and I will always be friends, no matter what happens with our dispute on trade. China will take down its trade barriers because it is the right thing to do. Taxes will become reciprocal, and a deal will be made on intellectual property. Great future for both countries." Well, if we take a look at how markets are faring this Monday, it appears that these signals sent by Washington have slightly alleviated investors' concerns. In Europe, trading opened in mostly positive territory. You can see the FTSE in London up by 0.33%, the CAC 40 in Paris up by 0.2%, and the DAX in Frankfurt up by over 0.5%. And if we go to the major Asian indices, they also are trading higher this hour. As you can see, the Nikkei in Tokyo up 0.5%, the Hang Seng in Hong Kong up by over 1%. Kospi in Seoul up by over 0.5%. The Shanghai Composite in China, though, is just under trading almost short of 0.1%. Well, France 24 spoke to Stephen Innes, market analyst at Owanda earlier, and he said that at least for now, the messages coming from the White House are reassuring shareholders.
Looking back at Friday's meltdown, I think it appears that we've got some really bad actors on this political stage. On the one hand, we had President Trump coming out with really negative trade rhetoric, only to see the local markets tank. However, cooler heads appeared to prevail over the weekend as Mnuchin and Kudlow were out on the wires before the open, suggesting that we're not moving down towards a trade war path. And then President Trump tweeted this morning and offered an olive branch to China again. So the markets opened up in a pretty good mood today as the trade war rhetoric had really diminished. And it suggests that we may not be going down that path that everybody was expecting. Well, at least for today anyway.
So what could have caused Donald Trump to dial down his rhetoric? Well, maybe it was pressure from the American agricultural sector. It could take quite a hit if China imposes its planned tariffs on such products as soybeans, cotton, corn, sorghum, wheat, and beef. Well, for instance, almost 1/3 of all soybeans imported to China come from the U.S., and it's worth about 33 million tons. And almost half of all U.S. exports are actually bought by China. That's a business worth $14 billion annually. Well, tariffs could significantly hurt U.S. farmers and benefit rival producers like Brazil, for instance. And Iowa is one of those states that produces soybeans. And as Nick Rushworth explains, farmers there are worried about the trade policies advocated by the president they elected.
The Kimberley farm in Iowa is a symbol of U.S.-China farming relations. The Chinese President Xi Jinping, then Vice President, visited in 2012 to experience an example of a model U.S. farm. Rick Kimberley is among a growing number of farmers concerned. China's tariffs include ones of 25% on soybeans and pork.
You know, there are concerns on the farm. It's been a long process and something that we cherish as farmers, and the relationship that has been built over there in China.
And then
Those concerns are echoed by Rick's son, Grant, who is the Director of Market Development at the Iowa Soybean Association.
Certainly, if this would continue on for very long, you're going to see impacts to prices. That would put financial pressure on farmers, and I would think over time you would see challenges for farmers that may even have to file bankruptcy if this would go on for very long.
The Iowa Farm Bureau estimates agriculture and related industries bring in more than $110 billion into Iowa's economy each year. Exports are a key part of that. At another farm nearby, farmer Dave Struthers is demanding the White House change course.
I want to tell the Trump administration that, we're the people that put you here in rural America. We do not have a trade deficit in agricultural products, and you're trying to hurt us for a little gain in a small segment of the economy.
The hope in Iowa is that a trade war can be avoided, with farming accounting for 1 in 5 jobs.
And let's finish with staff change at the top of Deutsche Bank. The German lender ousted its British CEO, John Cryan, and replaced him with one of his deputies, Christian Sewing. Well, this in a bid to get Germany's biggest bank back on track after years in crisis. The choice of Sewing, who was head of private banking, points to a shift toward retail banking in the German market, while Deutsche Bank is still struggling to recover from the legacy of its pre-financial crisis days when it tried to compete with global investment banking giants. In 2017, Deutsche Bank reported a €751 million loss. Actually, Deutsche Bank hasn't turned a profit in the last 3 years, Stuart. So.
OK, all right, one to watch. All right, thank you very much, Charles. Charles Pellegrino there with the Business on France 24.